strings and a bow, or play that monster over there. It is a really special occasion for me to join forces with the wonderful Caroline Kinsolving, and we're going to see how language and art and poetic imagery meshes with music. And you can probably tell by the way this program is laid out that we've thought of these offerings in sets. They're sets of 2 or 3 or maybe 4 ones. So I think you'll see, we won't even need to explain to you, you'll see how they are all interrelated. We are going to start with my favorite time of day. I have an older sister who used to say to me, "You have no right to be this cheerful in the morning." I love morning. We're going to start with morning. There you go.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. I love morning poems. They help me wake up. And this is, I have 2 here, but I'll just read the first one. This is by Krista Lucas, and this is called Morning. The stillness, the radio's news, the scent of rain. My neighbor bending to pick up his newspaper in its orange plastic bag, tossed on the step. The cars all heading this way or that. A fine spray beneath their wheels, vapor rising from sidewalks, and the light of the eastern sun slanting long, as if there's all the time in the world. Joy in all. And the hair I brush each morning, and the cannon towel newly washed that I rub my body with each morning. In the chapel of eggs I cook each morning. In the outcry from the kettle that heats my coffee each morning. In the spoon chair that cry, "Hello there," each morning in the Godhead of the table that I set my silver plate cup upon each morning. All this is God. Right here, up in my pea green house. Each morning, I mean, though often forget, to give thanks, to faint down by the kitchen table in a prayer of rejoicing, as the holy birds in the kitchen window peck into their marriage of seeds. So while I think of it, let me paint a thank you on my palm for this God, this laughter of the morning, lest it go unspoken. The joy that isn't shared, I've heard, dies young.
We're moving on to our second set. I was just wondering if everybody in the back row can hear Carol.
So, in the theme of Baroque, this is Richard Wilbur's A Baroque Wall Fountain in the Villa Sciarra. Under the bronze crown, too big for the head of the stone cherub, whose feet a serpent has begun to eat, sweet water brims a cockle and braids down past spattered mosses, breaks on the tipped edge of a second shell, and fills the massive third below. It spills in threads, then from the scalloped ring, and makes a scrim or summery tent for a fawn menage and their familiar goose. Happy in all that ragged, loose collapse of water, its effortless descent and flatteries of spray, the stocky god upholds the shell with ease, watching about his shaggy knees the goatish innocence of his babes at play. His fondness all the while leans forward slightly into a clambering mesh of water lights. Her sparkling flesh in a secular ecstasy, her blinded smile bent on the sand floor of the trefoil pool where ripple shadows come and go in swift reticulum, more addling to the eye than wine, and more interminable to thought than pleasure's calculus. Yet since this all is pleasure, flash, and waterfall, intricately expressed in the plain fountains that Moderna set before St. Peter's, the main jet struggling aloft until it seems at rest, in the act of rising, until the very wish of water is reversed, that heaviness borne up to burst in a clear, high, cavorting head to fill with blaze, and then in gauze delays, in a gnat-like shimmering, in a fine, illumined version of itself, decline and patter on the stones in its own applause? If that is what men are or should be, if those water saints display the pattern of our art, what of these showered fawns in their bizarre, spangled, and plunging house? They are at rest in fullness of desire for what is given. They do not tire of the smart of the sun, the pleasant water douse, and riddled pool below, reproving our disgust and our ennui with humble insatiety. Francis, perhaps, who lay in sister snow before the wealthy gate, freezing and praising, might have seen in this no trifle, but a shade of bliss, that land of tolerable flowers, that state as near and far as grass, where eyes become the sunlight, and the hand is worthy of water, the dreamt land toward which all hungers leap, all pleasures pass.
Okay, let's travel in our minds around the globe. We're going to go to Asia. Lei Liang is a Chinese-born composer who now teaches at the University of California. And although he himself is Han Chinese, a foremost expert on Mongolian music, used to visit his family for holidays and bring his music with him. And this is where his inspiration comes from when he composes music. So I've made up a story to this piece, and I would love for you to imagine it with me. So if you'd like to shut your eyes, here's my little scene. A young boy grows up in the mountains with his grandmother. They love each other very much. They don't have much to eat, but they end each day listening to the sounds of the monkeys and the birds in the forest. The boy cannot wait until he can go see the forest, but he hasn't been allowed to go there yet. And every night he sings his grandmother a Chinese folk song, and she sings it back to him. And that's the beginning and the end of this piece. But what happens in the story is that monks come through town and offer this boy the opportunity to leave home to go to school. And he and his grandmother agree that's a great idea, and he's finally going to get to see the forest. So he jumps onto a rickety bus, maybe it has one flat tire and a broken axle or something, and a rocky road. And in the middle of this piece, we're going to bounce through the forest, and you'll hear swoops and yelps of animals and the crackling of branches. And just as he gets out of this van, just for a moment, he's homesick, and he remembers his grandmother singing the folk song to him. Open your eyes. This is Journey by Lei Liang.
chair. And there's two problems with that. I didn't get them, and they're not in season. So there are no peaches under your chairs. But if you could have just imagined, like Oprah style, I was like, and now look under your chairs, and there's some peaches. That's what I dreamed up for this poem. So imagine you had a peach under your chair, and you had it now in your hand, right? And that's such a nice, when in the middle of the summer, peaches are in season, and they're so fragrant and fuzzy, and the colors and all of that. This is why I love this poem. This is by Lee Young Lee, and it's called From Blossoms. From blossoms comes this brown paper bag of peaches. We bought from the boy at the bend in the road where we turned towards signs painted peaches. From laden boughs, from hands, from sweet fellowship in the bins, comes nectar at the roadside. Succulent peaches we devour, dusty skin and all. Comes the familiar dust of summer, dust we eat. Oh, to take what we love inside, to carry within us an orchard, to eat not only the skin, but the shade, not only the sugar, but the days, to hold the fruit in our hands, adore it, and then bite into the round jubilance of peach. There are days we live as if death were nowhere in the background, from joy to joy to joy, from wing to wing, from blossom to blossom, to impossible blossom, to sweet, impossible blossom. And then we're going to just shift it over a little bit. And this is around a beautiful piece that she will introduce. But the thought was for me to find some poems that have to do with civil rights. And I found a million that I loved. But I was digging around, and I'm proud to say that I found this poem in an essay on a random website because I just searched Malcolm X and poetry. And it turns out that Malcolm X wrote one poem while he was in prison, when he was sort of cultivating and finding his faith. And what I loved most about this discovery is that the poem is called Music. And I'm going to say that it's he wrote Music by Red Little, which is another name he went by, also Malcolm X. And it goes like this. Music is not created. It is always here, surrounding us, like the infinite particles that constitute life. It cannot be seen, but can only be felt, like Allah, like life. No, 'tis not created, but like the never-dying soul, permeates the air with its presence, ever waiting for its master, the lordly musician, the wielder of the souls, to come and give it an earthly body, making it into a song. Music without the musician is like life without Allah, both in desperate need of a home, a body, a completed song, and its creator.
Well, we are mixing two art forms today, but there's actually a third one in the shadows, which is visual art. One day, our composer Carlos Simon stumbled on an exhibit in the Smithsonian. Carlos Simon, by the way, is a wonderful young composer in residence with the National Symphony in Washington, D.C. And the exhibit was called Between Worlds. You notice that's the name of this piece that he wrote. Between Worlds featured the art of the self-taught African-American pencil drawing artist named Bill Traylor, who was born just after the Civil War and died just a few years before the civil rights movement, and he lived to the age of 104. And he expressed and reflected the strife, the effort, the imbalance, and the violence in his art. So this piece may start with great sorrow, the weight of the world in a kind of blues harmony, but very soon our narrator is scrambling and running and dancing on his toes, perhaps running for his life, between worlds.
the back seat of my car are my own sons, still not yet to Mir's age, already having heard me warn them against playing with toy pistols. But my rhetoric is always about what I don't like, not what I fear, because sometimes I think of Tamir rise and shed tears, the weeping, all another insignificance, all another way to avoid saying what should be said. The Second Amendment is a ruthless one. The pomp and constitutional circumstance that says my arms should be heavy with the weight of a pistol when forced to confront death like this, a child, a hidden toy gun, an officer that fires before his heart beats twice. My two young sons play in the back seat while the video of Tamir dying plays in my head. And for everything I do know, the thing I don't say is that this should not be the brick and mortar of poetry. The moment when a black father drives his black sons to school and the thing in the air is the death of a black boy that the father cannot mention. Because to mention the death is to invite discussion of taboo. If you touch my sons, the crimson that touches the concrete must belong at some point to you. The police officer who justifies the echo of the fired pistol, taboo. The thing that says that justice is a killer's body mangled and disrupted by bullets because his mind would not accept the narrative of your child's dignity, of his right to life, of his humanity, and the crystalline brilliance you saw when your boys first breathed. The narrative must invite more than the children bleeding on crisp fall days, and this is why I hate it all. The people around me, the black people who march, the white people who cheer, the other brown people, Latinos and Asians, and all the colors of humanity that we erase in this American dance around death. As we are not permitted to articulate the reasons we might yearn to see a man die, there is so much that has to disappear from my mind not to abandon sanity. Tamir, for instance, everything about him, even as his face really and truly reminds me of my own. In the last photo I took before heading off to a cell, disappears. And all I have stomach for is blood, and there is a part of me that wishes that it would go away, the memories, and that I could abandon all talk of making it right and justice. But my mind is no sieve, and sanity is no elixir, and I am bound to be haunted by the strength that lets Tamir's father, mother, kinfolk resist the temptation to turn everything they see into a grave and make home the series of cells that so many of my brothers already call their tomb. And now Maya Angelou. Still, I rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room, just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like the hope springing high. Still, I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? I from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I am a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise.
The next piece is based on the Anthem of Puerto Rico. And when this piece was first written, changed music a few times, but it has, and still has, very loving, affectionate lyrics about the island of Puerto Rico. During times of strife, there have been revolutionary lyrics applied to the same music. But I realized that if I were going to print one text or the other, they both come from the same place, which is a strong and passionate love of one place, Puerto Rico.
they run and make it all look so easy. Like running 40 miles per hour is as fun as taking a nap or grass. I like their lady horse swagger after winning. Ears up, girls, ears up. But mainly, let's be honest, I like that they're ladies. As if this big, dangerous animal is also a part of me. That somewhere inside that delicate skin of my body, there pumps an 8-pound horse heart, giant with power, heavy with blood. Don't you want to believe it? Don't you want to lift my shirt and see that huge, beating, genius machine that thinks, no, it knows it's going to come in first.
I'll explain why I have to do this in a second. Part of being an instrumentalist is improvising, being at one with your instrument, and doodling around. And I come from a family of kids who all practiced instruments. When we went to peek in on my little brother, he'd be sitting on his bed with his violin like this, sort of doodling around. And there's a lot of ease and creativity that comes from this. And there's something about strummed instruments that are held like this all over the world that has a special casual feeling, thrumming and strumming. Someday I'm going to make a list of all the instruments around the world that are held like this. In our country, we've got mandolin, guitar, and banjo. And Shedrin was thinking more of East Europe. So he wrote a piece for strumming and doodling around for the balalaika. And the balalaika looks a little bit like a banjo, except the body of the instrument is a triangle. And yeah, I think I'll probably just imagine my little brother looking out the window and doodling around. The reason I had to put the rubber band on is there's something else we use when we play the violin. Some people use a shoulder rest, and that tended to come off if I held it like this. So I'm using old-fashioned kitchen sponge. Okay.
But when we first met, the very first conversation we had, I was trying to show off and go, oh, I know classical music. And I said, my favorite piece is Appalachian Spring. And he said, here, this is me playing it. He sent me this beautiful recording of Appalachian Spring. And as we fell in love, I would listen to it. And then when we were, once we got engaged, we went to a concert and they were playing Appalachian Spring. And I highly recommend you go home and listen to a recording of it. But I sat there in the audience, and actually, no, this was before he proposed. We were just dating. And I sat there in the audience, I kid you not. I listened to this piece of music, and I closed my eyes, and I imagined all our friends and family in a field listening to that. And that's all I wanted, all together. And then he proposed, and then we planned our wedding. And he asked all of his friends to come and play Appalachian Spring in the middle of a field on a farm in upstate, on a day that was after it downpoured. But it was a beautiful day, and the clouds parted. And when I was getting ready for our wedding, I thought, I'd like somebody to read something. What should we do? And I thought, oh, isn't there a part in Appalachian Spring called Simple Gifts? There's a part in that piece that takes from the theme of that. And so I looked up Simple Gifts by Joseph Brackett, who lived between 1797 and 1882. And I realized that what I'm about to read, Simple Gifts, the lyrics or the verses, is exactly what I believe in. And so it was the perfect piece to be read before our little ceremony. So, Simple Gifts. 'Tis the gift to be simple. 'Tis the gift to be free. 'Tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. 'Tis the gift to be loved, and that love to return. 'Tis the gift to be taught, and a richer gift to learn. And when we expect of others what we try to live each day, then we'll all live together, and we'll all learn to say, 'tis the gift to have friends, and a true friend to be. 'Tis the gift to think of others, not to think of only me. And when we hear what others really think and really feel, then we'll all live together with a love that is real. The earth is our mother, and the fullness thereof has her streets, her slums, as well as stars above. Salvation is here when we laugh, where we cry, where we seek and love, where we live and die. When true liberty is found, by fear and by hate we will no more be bound. In love and in light we will find our new birth, and in peace and freedom redeem the earth. 'Tis a gift to be simple. 'Tis a gift to be fair. 'Tis a gift to wake and breathe the morning air. And each day we walk on the path that we choose. 'Tis a gift we pray we never shall lose.
And of course, you all know how Simple Gifts goes. I'll remind you.
missing English one day, American really, with its pill-popping Hungarian goulash of everything from Anglo-Saxon to Zulu, because British English is not the same. If the paperback dictionary I bought at Brentano's on the Avenue del Opera is any indication, too cultured by half. Oh, the British know their delphiniums. But what about doo-wop, donuts, Dick Tracy, Tricky Dick, with their elegant Oxfordian accents? How would they understand my yearning for the hot rod, hot dog, hot flash vocabulary of the US of A, the fragmented fandango of Dagwood's everyday flattening of Mr. Beasley on the sidewalk, fetuses floating on billboards, drive-by monster hip-hop stereos shaking the windows of my dining room like a 7.5 earthquake, Ebonics, Spanglish, used as a comma and period, the inability of 90% of the population to get the present perfect. I have went, I have saw, I have tooken Jesus into my heart. The battle cry of the Bible Belt, but no one uses the King James anymore, only plain speak versions in which Jesus, raising Lazarus from the dead, says, dude, wake up. And the L-man bolts up like a B-movie mummy. Whoa, I was toasted. Yes, ma'am, I miss the mongrel plenitude of American English, its fall guy, rat terrier, dog pound neologisms, the bomb of it all, the rushing River Jordan backwoods Mount Mutability of it, the low-rider boombox crush of it, from New Jersey to Hawaii, with its sly dog, malasada, scarfing beach blanket lingo to the ubiquitous Valley Girls, lake, stuttering, shopaholic rant. I miss its quotidian beauty, its querulous, backbiting, righteous indignation, its preening, rot-gut, flag-waving cowardice, fluffer and fuckatash, butter Sylvester the cat. Sine dea, say the pork-bellied legislators of the swamps and plains. I miss all those guys. Their Tweety Bird resilience, their Doris Day optimism, the candid unguent of utter unhappiness on every channel, the midnight televangelist euphoric stew, the junk mail, voicemail vernacular on every boulevard. And Rue, I miss the Tarzan cry of Johnny Weissmuller, Johnny Cash, Johnny Be Good, and all the smart-talking, gum-snapping, hard girl dialogue, finger-popping, X-rated, street talk, sports babble, Cheetos, Cheerios, chili dog diatribes. Yeah, I miss them all. Sitting here on my sidewalk throne, sipping champagne verses lined up like hearses, metaphors juking, nouns zipping in my head like Corvettes on Dexedrine, French verbs slitting my throat, yearning for James Dean to jump my curb.
Appropriately enough, the last piece we're going to rock out. I married a man who really, really loves James Brown, really, really loves Jim Hendrix. We are just lucky that he didn't insist on naming either of my daughters that. So the top of this piece, the top of the first page says a la Hendrix. And DBR, as Daniel Bernard-Roumain likes to be known now, he's a Haitian American. He comes from a rock background, a violin background, and I think that's probably all I need to say about this. Oh, filter. So in the time of, I guess in the 60s, people started to manipulate sound with synthesizers, so the filter can have a kind of staticky, whistly, that's what might happen during this piece.
Thank you.